GolfNewsRI presents the Golf Dudes Podcast. Here are the dudes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Golf Dudes Podcast. Happy Thursday. Happy mid-March. Golf season is nearly here. You can feel it. Golf courses are opening. Driving ranges are opening. People are out playing. It's not totally freezing out. So happy mid-March. Happy Thursday. This is the Golf Dudes Podcast. I'm Joe Calabro, of course. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're all having a great week so far and looking forward to the weekend and maybe even playing some golf this weekend. So that's definitely exciting. But anyway, a lot to get to. Just me today. We have the big announcement on Wednesday from the USGA. We have Will Dickson is just finishing up his G Pro Tour round down in Georgia. And then we have Davis Chatfield, also in Georgia, coincidentally enough, playing in this week's Korn Ferry Tour tournament. I believe it's called the Club Card Championship. At the time of this taping, he hasn't teed off yet, so we'll do some of that and a few other things as well as we go along here on the show. But thanks to everybody for tuning in. First of all, we should say that the Golf Dudes Podcast is presented by Link's Drinks. Link's Drinks is best known for their transfusion in a can. The transfusion is vodka, ginger ale, and grape juice, all mixed up into one refreshing beverage. Of course, Link's Drinks has two other flavors: the front nine and the back. The front nine and the back nine. The front nine has orange juice, and the back nine has cranberry juice. So check out Link's Drinks at liquor stores and golf clubs near you. And it's a great thing to have with you while you're riding along and playing some golf, or perhaps you're watching the NCAA tournament. Either way, Link's Drinks is what you need. All right. Hopefully the water does the trick there. So a handful of things to get to, as I mentioned off the top. But first, we gotta get to the big news from yesterday, or from Wednesday, which was the big announcement from the USGA as they're making changes to the amateur qualifying. So that involves the U.S. Amateur, the Women's Amateur, and the boys and girls junior amateurs, obviously, respectively. So it was big because it obviously affects the Rhode Island Amateur. So starting and as they announced and as we confirmed, and got some feedback from some of the top players in the state, starting in 2024, the winner of the Rhode Island Amateur and the Women's Amateur will get exemptions into the U.S. Amateur and Women's Amateur, respectively. So that's huge. Puts another emphasis, or puts more emphasis on the Rhode Island Amateur. I think it's a great idea. The same will be true for the junior amateurs. So the winner of the junior amateur, of the Rhode Island Junior Amateur, which has been Max Jackson the last 2 years, of course, and the women's junior amateur, which last year was Olivia Williams, and the year before that was Kylie Eaton, they will get exemptions into the U.S. Junior Amateur and the U.S. Girls Junior Amateur. Obviously, Max played in the junior amateur last year at Bandon Dunes, and one would think he'd be a favorite to get there from Rhode Island again this year, but he'll have a great chance to get back. There's also, of course, other qualifying, and there's still going to be some of the other qualifying events that you can do, but this is just a way for more people to get in and get hopefully better fields at these events. And people are excited. I'm excited. Bobby Leopold, of course, 3-time RA amateur champion, a guy that's played in the U.S. Amateur numerous times, including last year. He says that, quote, "I know it's been in discussion for a while. Never thought it would honestly happen. Exciting stuff." Mike Hamilton was super pumped as well, and so was Kevin Blazer. So the huge news from the USGA yesterday, and as for their part, the USGA said in a statement, the openness and aspirational nature of our championships is a defining characteristic of USGA championships. As the number of entries and qualifying sites have continued to increase on a yearly basis, we looked at ways to evolve our structure to ensure the long-term sustainability of qualifying without excessively burdening allied golf associations and host clubs. These revisions will provide players with additional pathways to the championships through traditional qualifying, expanded exemption categories, and performance in state, AGA, regional, and national amateur championships. So again, big change for them yesterday. Now, there's also a bunch of other exemptions that people might have missed, and that will also answer a lot of other questions. There's some concern with, now that people can qualify through the local amateurs, you might have guys joining Buttonhole, from Florida or Connecticut or something crazy in order to play in the Rhode Island Amateur. But that, I don't believe that's going to be the case. People I've talked to about that in the amateur circles don't think that's a concern, because there's also other exemptions. So the top 100 players in the World Amateur Golf Rankings, known as WAGR, WAGR, they all get exempted into the U.S. Amateur. That's up from 50, whereas previously the top 50 players get exempt. Now it's the top 100. There's also exemptions include top finishes in USGA championships, state AGA amateur championships, and the top 600 WAGR players. So there's a bunch of exemptions for kids or college kids that are ranked in WAGR, highly ranked, and also I believe there's also exemptions for players who made it to the tournament last year and got into the match play portion of it. I believe they get exemptions as well. So, for example, not that he's going to play this year because he's a pro, but Chris Francoeur technically would have had an exemption to play in the U.S. Amateur again this year because he made match play last year. So super exciting stuff. I think it's a great thing. I think it puts more of an emphasis on the state amateurs, and hopefully it will keep kids, home, so to speak, to play in these tournaments. Obviously, a big problem that the Rhode Island State Amateur has had, and many state amateurs across the country, it's not just Rhode Island, is the Rhode Island State Am does not get a lot of points, world ranking points. It doesn't have a lot of, they call it power rankings. This doesn't get a lot of power rankings. In fact, players can lose ranking points if they play. Andrew O'Leary talked about that extensively in a podcast that we did with him. Well, 2 podcasts that we did with him actually over the last couple of years or so. So I think this would be huge because now there's a reason to try to play in it other than just to win. Obviously, now you can get to State Am. Unfortunately, we didn't have this 2 or 3 years ago, and maybe you would have had guys like Davis Chatfield and Patrick Welch and others staying home, so to speak, to play in these events instead of going out on the road and playing in these other bigger amateur tournaments. So I think it's great. It'd be interesting to see what it looks like when it gets here. Obviously, this year's tournaments are just the regular state am and junior am and everything like that. But starting in 2024, it's going to be awfully exciting. So I'm excited for it. I think it's a great change. Like Bobby said, he didn't think it was actually going to happen. I believe when I talked to Bobby for the amateur series 2 years ago when I was at Kirkbride, I believe he called for them doing this. I have to go back through the audio, but I'm pretty sure that he called for it. So he spoke it into existence, as they say. So that's the biggest news from yesterday, of course. And again, I think it's a great change. It's going to be awfully exciting, and we'll see. We'll see how it kind of all plays out. And again, there's still going to be other qualifiers and other things as well. But now winning the state am gets you into the U.S. am, which is awesome. So that'll be fun. Of course, sad news this week is Jim Tanner, the legendary Pawtucket Country Club caddy master, fixture. He's just a legend. He passed away earlier this week. We had multiple stories on him, including just kind of a straight news story on Monday, I believe. And then we followed up with the remembering of the legendary Jim Tanner story. And thank you to everybody who contributed quotes and stories. It was a great learning experience for me, and it was a lot of fun to put together. The Sam Snead stuff is just epic. when he caddied for Sam Snead. So that was awesome. But rest in peace to a Pawtucket legend. I've only met him, only got a chance to meet him once or twice. When I was fortunate to be invited to play at Pawtucket, and just talking to him, you could tell there was an aura about him. I remember he gave me this big book of, I don't know, of stuff, of memorabilia, of his pictures and all kinds of stuff. And to look, there was this huge folder. Like, it had to be that thick, if not bigger. And it was just like, holy crap. But so he was a cool guy. You know, and he was a Pawtucket legend. So glad we were able to put a couple stories together for him, and especially the remembrance piece I thought was really good. And again, if you haven't got a chance to read it, go back and read some of the stories, and the Sam Snead stuff is cool, and all kinds of things. So that was obviously the sad portion of the week, but hopefully that those stories kind of helped people, and at least remembered JT a little bit. So that is kind of the local stuff there. As I mentioned, Will Dickson was playing in the Augusta Open today down in the G Pro Tour. He actually has missed the cut, unfortunately. He played the Monday Q on Monday, obviously, for the Korn Ferry Tour event. He just missed the cut by a couple shots. He said he played really well. He was happy with how he played. And then this week, he didn't do so hot. He made it 8 today on the 14th hole, I believe. Then bounced back with 2 birdies. Actually, excuse me, I think it was the 13th hole. Then he bounced back with 2 birdies. But obviously, it's tough to overcome the 8. I think the cut was -5, and he finished at even par. So tough week for him, but he'll bounce back and on to the next tournament. It's going to be tough going from a shootout type event, which these Monday Qs is a shootout, to kind of switching gears. So it'd be interesting to see how he switches gears so quickly in situations like that. Or it'd be interesting to know how he switches gears so quickly in situations like that. So that is the Will Dickson update. And Davis Chatfield is on the Korn Ferry Tour this week. The Korn Ferry Tour finally returns after it's been like a month. It feels like a month anyway. It's been a while since the KFT was in action. Chatfield back in action this afternoon. As of this taping, he hasn't teed off yet. He's one of the last tee times of the day, so it's going to be a long night of waiting for this ridiculous Korn Ferry Tour live scoring thing to update. But hey, it's my job. So he's playing the KFT. He's only got 3 tournaments left after this, as far as his exemption goes. So, obviously he had his struggles at the first few tournaments for sure. He did make a couple of cuts, which is good. He earned some money, but we'll see if he can kind of kick it into gear now in these last few tournaments and try to get inside the reshuffle. Again, the Korn Ferry Tour reshuffle happens after every 4 tournaments. They reshuffle kind of the rankings, if you will, to see who continues to get exemptions. Right now, obviously, Davis is outside that reshuffle. So there's a reshuffle, I believe, after this tournament, and then he's up 3 more or whatever it might be. So, anyways, the point is, he's gonna hopefully start playing better. He's got to be a little more comfortable now, understanding how kind of it works and the tour life and the pro life. So it'll be interesting to see in these final couple tournaments, at least as far as his exemption goes, how he does, and if he can get inside kind of that reshuffle, which takes place in about a month. So there's that. So we'll have that tracked, of course, into the evening tonight, and hopefully he gets off to a good start and plays well and kind of turns the ship around. So that's kind of where we are on local stuff. One announcement or one promotional thing for everybody. If you're interested, we're putting out a flyer about it on social media within the hopefully soon. So by the time this podcast airs, it may already be up. You never know. But anyway, next Wednesday, the 29th, our one of our, of course, our great advertisers, Vintage Cigar Lounge, is doing an event, cigar event for the Drew Estate cigars. I guess it's a big cigar brand. I honestly don't know much about cigars, so I'm not going to pretend to. Anyways, the point is, the Expand Your Brand podcast, Jeff and Austin will be doing a live show from the cigar bar there. So if you're around, you feel like taking a ride to Westerly, perhaps you live in Westerly, go hang out at Vintage Cigar. It should be a great event. And ask Jeff and Austin for their autographs. I'm not sure how much they charge these days. They're getting pretty big. But let's go check that out. So that's the 29th. I believe the event starts at 7 p.m. Again, we'll have social media action for it. We'll be promoting it. And again, by the time this podcast airs, might already be out. So there's that coming up next week that we're definitely looking forward to. So with all that said, I want to take a quick commercial break here, and we'll come back. We'll do some Dell Technology match play talk and some other news and notes from a busy week in golf and in sports, of course. So this is the Golf Dudes podcast. I'm Joe Calabro. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Billy Andre joins the show. Billy, thanks so much for doing this, and we appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I'm very excited to be joined by an 11-time Emmy Award winner, and that is Armin Katayan. Massachusetts Women's Amateur Champion Allison Paik.
The days of the country club just being golf and maybe one amenity are gone. Unfortunately, Metacomet doesn't have those.
He has a very rare condition called kyphoscoliotic Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And at the time of diagnosis, there was only 60 documented cases in the world.
I mean, we legitimately played the last 4 holes at Newport National. You could not see 50 yards.
And welcome back to the Golf Dudes podcast, presented by Link Strengths. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Of course, check out Link Strengths if you're looking for something to sip on or chug. Be while you're watching the NCAA tournament tonight, or tomorrow, or the next day after that. Grab a Link Strengths. They're available in liquor stores and country clubs near you. So check them out, and we thank them, of course, for their continued support of GolfNewsRI and the Golf Dudes podcast. We started the show talking about the new USGA changes that they announced on Wednesday, changing the amateur qualifying and really making the state amateurs more of a priority, which is something that has been talked about for a while. The World Amateur Golf Rank has made changes to try to help the local state events, as we reported on earlier this year, or the end of last year, I guess. So changes have been made to try to help these state amateurs that really just get killed by mostly college kids who are high up in the World Amateur Golf rankings, skipping their local events to play in bigger events because of points and things of that nature. So hopefully this will help. I'm excited for it. I think it's a great change. People I've talked to in the Rhode Island golf community are excited about it. So that was the big news of the week. We also paid a little bit of a tribute to Jim Tanner, who passed away, the Pawtucket Country Club legend, caddied for Sam Snead back in 1955. So that was kind of the beginning of the show. Did a little bit of Will Dickson talk and a little bit of Davis Chatfield talk, as Chatfield is back in the Korn Ferry Tour this week. And of course, GolfNewsRI will have you covered all the way through the end, and we'll see how he does, if he can put some rounds together and kind of move up the rankings. So that's what we have going on as we speak, as we roll through here another week in March. Golf season is fast approaching now. It's legitimately right around the corner. So that's really exciting. So on the PGA Tour this week, we have the Dell Match Play, which is always a fun event. it's the last event. It's been confirmed and been reported that there's not going to be any more match play event going forward, at least for the time being. Obviously, with the PGA Tour changing their schedule next year to promote elevated events and have better fields, they're moving the schedule all around, and there's no place for the match play to take place to happen next year. Now, Jay Monahan did say in his Players Championship press conference that it would certainly be something they would consider bringing back in the future, but just next year, there's no room for it. So as of this moment, this is the only match play event on the PGA Tour, other than obviously of the Ryder Cups and Presidents Cups. But it's really, I enjoy it because obviously it's something different. Match play was just something that we all play, generally speaking, in our courses and our club championships and our 4-ball championships, whatever it might be. So I enjoy watching it, and it's great to see Ricky Fowler playing well. I'm a big Ricky Fowler guy. He needs to play really well. I don't know if he needs to win the whole thing, but he certainly has to make a run in order to, as he continues to try to get inside that top 50 in the world to get an invite to the Masters. That's kind of the story. There's other guys who are probably in his same shoes that are trying to get inside the Masters cut line there. So, it's great to see Jordan Spieth playing in the event. Justin Thomas actually dropped out of the event because he doesn't play well there. He doesn't do the match play well there. So it's definitely an interesting feeling. I know they've had weather issues a bit, but it was great to see Ricky Fowler beat Jon Rahm yesterday. Jordan Spieth tied his match. Tony Finau won his match, and obviously they're in action today as well. So that's kind of what's going on the PGA Tour. Just a couple weeks until the Masters, 14 days until the Masters, which is crazy to think about. It's really close. The only inconvenience is Masters Sunday is also Easter Sunday for those that celebrate that. So eat Easter dinner real quick and then get in front of a TV. That's the strategy. So that's kind of the things that are coming up. We're still looking to do some. GolfNewsRI is still looking to do something on the mat with the Masters, as far as a get together or something like that. There are a couple other events going on. We'll keep you posted. Our original game plan, it doesn't appear that it's going to completely work out, but no need to get into that at the moment. But we'll still maybe do something. We'll see what happens. There could be more stuff to come, but the Masters is in 14 days. I think it's going to be fascinating. You have the live guys, you have the champions there, and all these live guys now are saying, it's going to be, fine. It's not going to be awkward. All this, they're all saying, everybody's saying the right thing. The PGA Tour guys are saying the right thing as well. I don't know how it can't be awkward. Some of them anyway. Some of the relationships that are fractured. The Phil Mickelson portion of it. I don't know how it can't be awkward. As we've talked about, I think Rich and I talked about before. Boy, it'd be great to be a fly on the wall for some of these for that dinner. It's going to be interesting for sure. So yeah, people are saying it's not going to be awkward. I don't know how, but maybe it won't be. Either way, the whole week is going to be fascinating. The lead up to it, the golf is going to be the golf. It's fascinating anyway. Just because it's the Masters, it's Augusta National. Everybody knows every hole, what every hole is, what it does. We even know some of the putts at this point, and all the years that we've been watching it. But it's going to be an interesting thing. But obviously, have the match play this week. We have a live golf event next week in Orlando. So, and then after that, it's pretty much on. So that'd be cool. So that is where we are. With everything. Thanks everybody for following along all week. And it's golf season's coming. We're going to be on top of everything. We're growing our content. We're going to have a lot more stuff going on. We are cruising along. Not that you guys care, but cruising along page view wise. And so it's going to be exciting. We're going to try to do more coverage, do more on-course stuff. We are expanding our team. Obviously, we've added Jeff, and Austin has been helping us out a little bit with the podcast, and perhaps help us out more as we go along here. But we're excited for the season to get started. It starts very shortly, I mean, the Rhode Island Floorball Championship, as we reported, is May 1st and 2nd. So that's not that far away. And then obviously you have the U.S. Open qualifier at Kirkbride on May 16th, which is just going to be a fascinating event last year. It's going to be a fascinating event this year. So I'm excited for that. Excited for all of it. So the season's coming. And prior to that, make sure you like, subscribe, follow GolfNewsRI on all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The Instagram page is growing at a relatively good pace. We've been doing all kinds of reels and stuff, so check all that stuff out, and be sure to follow it. Smash that subscribe button or follow button, whatever button you want to hit, and be sure to be on board for the golf season. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be exciting, potentially historic in some ways too, depending on if certain things happen, obviously. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. So thanks everybody for following along these 3 years. We're coming up on our 3-year anniversary, which is crazy. So thanks everybody for following along. We're looking forward to continuing to grow and do more and build on what we've already been doing. So super exciting, and happy golf season. That's kind of where we are. Hopefully you're playing this weekend. If you are, be sure to tag us in photos and videos and memes. You never know. So anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. This is the Golf Dudes podcast. Enjoy the NCAA tournament this weekend, and we will talk to you next week when we are even closer to the golf season, which is, again, just exciting stuff. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Bye.